Bumper stickers can help make routine driving trips a little bit more interesting, thanks to drivers like this guy. But most of them are pretty typical, such as showing where people have paid tuition at and who their favorite sports teams are, as well as veteran status is another popular one. But some of them are a little bit more interesting. If we know what to look for, we can see things and learn things about that driver that maybe they did not intend for us to know. Let's start with the message on the back of a pickup truck that I saw parked across the street from the Honolulu airport that I actually found pretty disappointing. Now, if you're not familiar with this message here, that's good. Please keep it that way. I'll just sum it up by saying the basis for this is a young woman who had her 15 minutes of fame by being gross and vulgar. And so this is very telling about the owner of this truck who chose this message to display to all the world. I'm not saying he's a bad person, but it says something about his values and his sense of decency. Most of us, the only means we have of a platform to share messages with people really is our vehicle. And even then, there's limited real estate. And this guy pretty much chose to take up all his real estate with this message. Now, I'm not judging him because, of course, I know that's a bad word these days, but what I'm doing is I'm using information that he has given me about himself to figure out what type of person he is. And the fact that he chooses this particular part of insignificant pop culture to advertise on his truck says something about him. Now, most vehicles don't give us enough data points to make a good assessment about that person. But for some vehicles, one data point is all we need. Behold the middle finger. Now, this gesture is the most offensive gesture that we can give to somebody, hands down. You should know what to expect from someone who takes this message to semi-permanently affixed to the back of his truck to send to everyone that sees it. And I know it's nice to give people the benefit of the doubt all the time, but I don't think this guy wants the benefit of the doubt. I think he's being pretty clear about the message that he's trying to send and how he wants others to see him. That's why I had to create a ruse when I was out for a walk with my wife so that I could get this picture, because he was sitting on the other side of the truck. And it didn't take superior intellect for me to figure out that this guy was probably not very friendly and easy to approach. And even if he's just having a little fun expressing himself, well, clearly his values are not the same as mine. And that's okay, but values are worth looking into because our values are the driving force behind everything that we do. Now, one person I do believe was just having a little fun was the driver of this Mustang, because as he saw my wife taking a picture of his car as we passed him, he smiled and waved, and so he seemed like a nice guy that didn't really have anything against gay cops, or straight cops for that matter. Now, this next car also made me smile, but if we look closer, I think you'll see that there's a little bit deeper meaning behind all this personalization of the car. Now, it's not just my words here, but the University of Colorado did a study that determined that drivers with a lot of bumper stickers are more likely to engage in road rage. And the reason behind this is all this personalization is like being territorial about their car. So their car is not just their vehicle, it is something that's an extension of themselves that they identify with. So if somebody does something on the road, like cuts them off or whatever, they're gonna take it more personal. I think the types of stickers do matter though, like these two drivers here. They probably do drive a little bit more aggressively as compared to this driver here, who probably doesn't take himself very seriously. Then there's this person who almost seems to be mocking the whole idea of bumper stickers. And these two drivers here aren't really giving a lot of information through their stickers, so it's kind of hard to make an assessment here. Then there's this Raiders fan in a black truck. Now, Raiders fans are kind of interesting in their own right, because you can either be a big fan of the sports team or be a big fan of kind of the bad boy culture that goes with being a Raiders fan. Back when I was growing up, Raiders apparel was associated with gangster rap. You know, the black clothing just puts off a whole different vibe than, say, like green and yellow. To really get a feel for what this guy was like, we would need a little bit more information, like seeing if he was riding around blasting NWA. And that might tell us if it's really the football team that he loves or if it's the whole Raiders culture. For me, I'm moving toward the latter because of the fact that, well, look how big the stickers are for one, and the fact that he really doubled down on 2 stickers.
Give me 2!
Speaking of doubling down, check out this guy who really wants you to know that he drives a manual transmission. Then he puts up another sticker for all those who probably don't even know what a clutch pedal is. I thought about leaving him a note saying, "Relax, buddy. I taught my wife how to drive a standard." But that would put me in the same category. If I were going to leave one message, why would I want to leave a negative message? Then on the next street over, a guy puts out a reminder for some positive vibes with this shaka. I like this guy. This guy here kind of made me laugh because I think he was just trying to show off his vocabulary.
I don't think it means what you think it means.
Then the next guy in a pickup truck, of course, gives us a few data points, but that's all we need to put together what I think is a pretty good assessment of him. Check this out. Here we go. 2 references to hustling, which is essentially working hard. But a lot of the times that's implied through unconventional, maybe even sometimes illegal means. A lot of times these are non-salaried positions, and typically they don't have an employer 401k match. The $ and the run your mouth gives off a little bit of a street flavor, as you probably wouldn't see these things on vehicles outside of a professional center or in a more affluent neighborhood. Specifically, run your mouth tends to carry kind of a negative connotation. Parents don't generally pick up their 4-year-olds from school and say, "Hey, I want to hear about your day, sweetie. Go ahead, run your mouth." And I can't help but think about, like, what was this guy's frame of mind when he peeled back the backing of this sticker and stood back and admired it with pride? Like, yeah. Okay, final assessment on what this guy chose to tell me about himself. He probably has a lot in common with this guy in the blue pickup truck with the bad boy sticker. Out here in Hawaii, we have a lot of stickers expressing, ethnic pride and identity and that sort of thing. And as someone who is 50% Hispanic, the idea of distinguishing myself based on something that I had zero influence with never really appealed to me. Personally, I feel like these displays are not as uniting as other options. But I do appreciate the friendly Shaka on this one. He's probably a pretty cool guy. And I know the driver of this truck is too. It's just that we apparently have different values. So when it comes to cultural displays, I get much better vibes from a person like this who chooses to display these beautiful, vibrant symbols of Hawaii's flora and fauna. And I think it's safe to say that somebody who puts this on the back of their car as opposed to symbols of death, they probably live a much more richer and enjoyable life. Of course, I'm just speculating here. Now we're getting into some more sensitive assessments, like this zip code sticker that I saw on the freeway. When I saw this car go by, I got excited because I knew already that it must be a zip code on the island that is less desirable in terms of property value and crime statistics. And this is because of my other research into poverty culture. In my observation, it seems like those areas, neighborhoods, and towns that are most commonly repped tend to be actually the least desirable places to live. And I was not mistaken. This area encompasses Wahiawa, generally does not have the highest property values on the island. And that's the same for Kalihi, represented by this guy here. Let's just say that there are not a lot of tourist hotspots in Kalihi. But I do have a video of me riding my bike through Kalihi if you want to get a feel for what that looks like. It's on my channel also. Then there's this guy representing the 94 block, which is pretty much Waipahu. Again, and actually I live in a corner of Waipahu. This right here is more representative of the majority of Waipahu though, the cinder block walls with the graffiti on them. So I'm curious, have you guys noticed this too? The people that seem to have the most pride in their geographic location, where they live or where they're from, do they seem to be the nicer areas or the less nice areas? Now let me throw this one out to you. Take a look at this car here with these stickers. What do you think? Generally likable person or not? It's up to you. I'm not going to make the call on this. But they're probably not as happy as, say, this person. Now here's a driver with a pretty specific ideology that I would say they want you to know about. You can see that they love whales and resist. What do you think that resist means? I got a pretty good idea. Over here we have these stickers with the color and shape of an American flag with popular ideological phrases such as, in our America, love wins, and in our America, diversity is celebrated. I would say the electric car fits very well with this profile. And I'll take it a step farther and say because they're trying to make such an unambiguous statement, they're probably very passionate about what they feel. This person is probably not somebody that you could discuss differing viewpoints with at length. Then there's this guy. First glance, looks like a patriot, right? But he also knows that the American flag can be considered a divisive symbol by some, and putting it on the back of his car with a pro-military stickers it's making a statement as well. I imagine when it comes to politics, this guy likes to stir the pot. And I'm not saying he watches Fox News, but I guarantee you he doesn't watch CNN. I like how the owner of this van is telling us exactly how he feels. Now this next one I got really excited about from an analytical approach, because although there's really only 3 stickers on this car, these stickers are so telling into what this person is like and how they think. Starting up here in the top, Beauty and her Beast. This kind of gives you an idea of how she thinks maybe about herself and about her dog. Like this is obviously something that she's proud of and she wants people to know about. Comes across as a little boastful to me. The next one down here, The empire doesn't care about your stick figure family. Okay, now we've all seen the display of stick figure families being annihilated by dinosaurs or whatever, okay? We see them when we get a good laugh, but it's one thing to make an effort to actually purchase these stickers and put them on your vehicle. It's almost like you are kind of trying to make a statement, like a passive-aggressive statement, okay? And before you think I'm getting too carried away with this one, the last data point is this sign right here. Adults on board, we want to live too. Obviously, this is a play on those baby on board signs that you see on cars all over the place, which is essentially parents saying, hey, there's somebody fragile in here, please do not ram us or shoot into my car. And this person is suggesting that adults' lives are just as valuable as babies, which they are, but feeling the need to say that almost comes across as like you're a little bit jealous. Or at the least, kind of like maybe they're in competition with babies for some reason. So I detect some insecurity in this person by what they're trying to display to the world. So bottom line, if I didn't like my kids, I would ask this person to babysit. On to an interesting contradiction with this blue Jeep. Be humble is be humble in, Pidgin English, local vernacular is what they're saying. But what they're really saying is this applies to you and not them. And the reason I get that impression is because if you look at the other sticker on the other side here, they're saying, if you don't like their pit bull, you can kiss their pit bull's butt. That really doesn't come across as a humble person to me. Now, here's the thing about pit bulls too. Whether you like them or not, you can't deny that pit bulls are responsible for the majority of dog-caused fatalities in our country, at least anyway, or bully breeds. Let's just say bully breeds altogether, okay? And not just fatalities, but like dismemberments and horrible maulings, okay? Now, Chihuahuas or Golden Retrievers might bite more people every year, but they don't have the capability to do the kind of damage that pit bulls do. And because of that, there is starting to be a pretty big rift, even between pet owners against pit bulls, essentially. And I think a lot of pit bull owners kind of thrive on that negativity. I think it kind of excites them a little bit. It's a little bit of a challenge for them, right, to defend their dog. So this person knows that they're being an agitator by putting this sticker on the back of the car. And probably wouldn't really get along too well with this person. Then we have another supporter of the bully breed, which just the impression of this dog doesn't tell you that much about them. But then when you look on the other side of their car, we see that they've taken a beautiful sentiment of aloha, which quite literally means love and kindness, and they've kind of repurposed it for their own means into something profane and ugly. In assessing the owner of this vehicle, I would just say I'm glad that we're not neighbors. And they probably wouldn't want to be my neighbor either. Then there's this person. I have no idea what UCLA means or if I'm even saying that right. Now these final two drivers offer some really interesting and telling clues for any potential romantic partner. Now, we're all on the lookout for narcissists these days, right? And we've already seen some possible narc patterns in these stickers today. But this one really gets my attention because I've noticed other alarming patterns in those who have assumed this same designation here of princess. Now, when you think of a princess, you think of somebody who is entitled to a life of ease, right? Where they're in an elevated position above others and they don't really have any responsibility or accountability. So I would be kind of leery of somebody who aspired to have that and to be thought of that way. Now, I could be wrong here about their intentions, but just pay attention. This final driver here is screaming, "Look at me." Really no technical analysis needed here. The lover boy who comes along for this lover girl, well, he better be prepared for some drama. So there you have it. What people choose to display about themselves on their vehicle can tell us a little bit, but sometimes a lot about who they are and what they value, what's important to them. Because it's one thing to think that or to feel a certain way sometimes, but to emblazon it on your vehicle for everyone to see and then to recommit to that, to double down on it every time you go out to your car, that's really saying, hey, this is how I feel, this is who I am. And that becomes a part of our identity. Right? And so whether it's something positive or negative can really have an impact on the rest of our life and how we interact with others. So I hope you got something out of this, and I'd love to hear if you found something interesting, and especially if you disagree with me, I'd really love to hear your thoughts. Thanks for watching.